Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Holly if you're new, and today I want to talk about treadmill running. I want you guys to leave this video feeling more excited about your treadmill workouts. I want them to go by faster, and most importantly, I want them to feel more similar to the outside so that when you go back to outside running, or if you go back and forth between, you don't notice that much of a difference. Let's jump right in. So I recently put together the fact that I'm doing a lot of my coaching this summer through the treadmill. I'm doing a lot of Zoom sessions where their Zoom cameras on them, I am in their headphones, I'm telling them what to do, what settings to change, putting them through the workout in real time. So correcting form, pushing them when it gets tough, making the most out of this treadmill workout. I'm also writing a lot of workouts for the treadmill, especially for my people in the South suffering through this humidity and heat that has been so bad. I know really the whole country honestly has been bad, but a lot more people on the treadmill in the summer because they want to keep their running more consistent and not be so much slower if they go outside. As I've said, I see benefits to both, but in terms of consistent output, obviously you can control that indoor climate. So writing a lot of workouts and just trying to keep them fun and interesting week to week. Lastly, I'm doing some form correction stuff where I'm looking at videos of people from the side and the front on the treadmill, helping them, self-correct. What can they think about? What cues they can use? But all of this together has me realizing treadmill running can actually be fantastic if you know what you're doing in the way of programming and paying attention to the right things. There is a really good way to utilize that to bring it to success outside, whether it's in a race or just running outside and feeling good about it. First, I want to talk about how to program a great treadmill workout that's not complicated but keeps it moving, keeps it fun. I know there are a million great workouts, follow along style on Peloton, Nordic Track. All the treadmills have fantastic visuals now, really takes the work out of it for you. But what I've found is when you're more engaged in the workout and have to keep changing the settings yourself and keeping numbers in your head and almost looking at your notes, it does make the time go by faster. This is just plain and simple. I've seen it with a lot of clients and definitely with myself. The treadmill workouts where you are kind of in control of the sections and you make sure there are multiple different interesting sections feel a lot better mentally. They just do. So one example of what I've been doing for a lot of my Zoom people, we break the workout into 3 sections. Say I'm gonna work out with them for an hour. We will start obviously warming up, just get dynamic warm up going, normal stretches. We'll go into a nice easy jog on flat. Then I might have them power hike a couple times. So we'll go up to maybe 4 or 5 on the incline. I'll have them just get the heart rate up a little bit higher with a good power hike. So nice fast walk. Then the first official section of the workout will be speed work. Now we've been doing all types here. Obviously there's a million ways you can do speed work, but I find 2-minute sections on the treadmill are really nice, strong ways to not feel like you're hitting buttons the whole time. You get to really push and you get to control maintaining that speed for several reps in a row, which I feel like really does overall make you faster. So for an example that I did last week, we did 4 rounds of 2 minutes and we went somewhere between the 7 and 8 out of 10 effort level. That's how we started. Nice strong run. I gave her, I think, a 90-second walk in between. We kept it on flat. I will say, anytime I say on flat in the treadmill, I usually mean at least 1.0 on the incline because you want a little bit of resistance back against you. So a little bit comparable to being outside. I'm gonna cover that later, but just saying, if I ever say flat, I usually mean 1.0 on the incline. So 4 by 2 minutes. Once we're done with that section, we'll go into some hills. I've really loved starting somebody on a steeper incline and then bringing it down. Sometimes I'll bring them down and add speed, so it's kind of transferring what is feeling the worst, whether it's the speed or the incline. Say we start on 6, and I have them running for a 3-minute interval here. So we'll do the first minute, we're up on 6, we bring it down to 4, we finish on 2. And like I said, I can kind of manipulate the speed if I want. I can also just have them grind it out for 3 minutes, slow jog, just getting really comfortable on that incline. I can also really utilize those power hikes, and I think this is the beauty of the treadmill too. You can control what that hill looks like, and you can really focus on good form there. Sometimes the hills we hit outside either feel so runnable that we really don't know how to manage that breathing, or they're so steep that we just are hunched over and we are looking horrible the whole time going up. We technically get up it, but it's not pretty and maybe not that repeatable. So different variations here on the hills. Like I said, maybe 3 to 4 rounds there, maybe 3 minutes max per interval. So I could start at the steepest, bring it down, maybe add speed. I could just do consistently 3 minutes slow jog. Sometimes if we didn't go too hard on the speed stuff, I would have them do like a nice strong hill sprint, maybe 1 minute. Once you get all the buttons pushed and it's actually brought it to it, it's not quite a minute. Giving them breaks in between, as always. I think a really nice way to balance out the hill work, especially if it doesn't feel as hard as the outside, is to make your recoveries very easy jogs. versus just going immediately to a walk, I feel like this actually gives that heart rate a little bit more practice in adjusting. And again, you have a controlled climate, temperature, whatever. So we've done speed, we've done hills, we finish with endurance usually, where I will have them, depending on what they're working on, do a full section. We're just gonna run. I'm gonna watch form the whole time so that when they're starting to slip, I can help them pay attention. And it gets them feeling really consistent in their speeds and effort levels and what that feels like. I think one of the beauties of the treadmill is that once you set that speed, once you set that incline, your body has to adjust from there versus the outside. As you start to make adjustments on the outside, you tend to affect the speed, especially if you're just focusing. We tend to slow down in order to focus. Or we speed up right off the bat because we're so fixated on all the details that we burn out and can't repeat it. Now I want to talk about that 1% incline and why I think it's important to keep as the setting even on your flat runs on the treadmill. We know how advanced treadmills are now. They are solid, they're steady, they're smooth. They feel really good under the feet these days, especially if you've been on a woodway. Those are incredible. One thing to look out for is that we sometimes lack accountability on the treadmill because everything is so predictable. The belt is going to keep coming. It's going to keep coming under those feet. You just have to lift the tiniest bit to make sure your foot hits to create the next step. It's really not that complicated, and you can get pretty lazy pretty quickly with no realization of it, especially if you're just kind of focused on the screen or you're tuning out, listening to a podcast, whatever. What I find the 1% does is at least remind you that your foot is hitting the ground and you have to control how you pick it up and think about how you do that. When we talk about running outside, we've done all these form videos together. You guys know how important it is to me that you are using the right muscles, getting the weight back, using the glutes and quads to maintain a lot of that impact. And that doesn't change on the treadmill. I want you guys to still be responsible for that force of the landing, which is still there when we're on the treadmill. Even if we have a soft surface underneath, we're still obviously landing with force. We have that body weight coming down repeatedly. So what I like about 1% is there's just a little bit of a reminder. Yes, you're hitting something. Yes, you need to pay attention to how you pick the feet up. And it is harder to get sloppy so soon. And that's why I really like to keep that on the flats. I don't really think it affects, to be honest, like anything really with the heart rate or that way, but it is really important, I think, for form to pay attention still, even on the treadmill, to how you're picking your feet up. The next tip I have for you guys is to back up from the screen a little bit. I know these treadmills have big, beautiful screens. We're either watching the landscaping that they have, TV show, whatever it is, and it's very easy to stay very close to the front. What happens when we stay close to the front in a lot of these treadmills is we start to round the shoulders, lean over, lose our hips behind us, and at that point, we're no better than we are at the desk hunched over at 2 p.m. in the afternoon. We want to still be focused on good form and keeping eyes on the horizon line. So what you want to do is back up from the screen a little bit. I like to plant myself or my client halfway on the belt. It might feel too far from the screen. There are emergency straps. I know it's kind of old school and nobody ever uses them, but you definitely should. Clip that on so you have an out if something were to happen, but there's a lot more controlled on the treadmill than we think. Yes, it's kind of small room for error because you are kind of planted in this one spot, but you're in control of what your feet do, right? So keep it at speeds you know you can control, inclines you can control, know how to straddle, jump and straddle the plastic parts off the belt if anything were to happen. But you can back up a little bit, and that gives you a lot more realistic run form compared to the outside. What I've found sometimes, and I actually see this if someone's doing a long run inside and they're on the last few miles and they're just like, get this over with. Not only are they hunched over the screen and kind of rounded forward, they might even be sort of pushing off those handlebars a little bit too, and that's also manipulating the run form, which might not feel like it does that much, but over time it really does. You wouldn't have that outside, right? So we want to back up a bit, take control, get our weight over the glutes and the quads. We know we practice this all day long, all those videos for the form. You can definitely do that on the inside as well. Just back up a little bit so you feel like you have the space for it and don't be smashed up against the screen. I know it's beautiful. I'm very blind and I can still see perfectly from halfway back on the belt. This brings me to the next tip, which is to trust your feet. This is such a key part of treadmill running, and if you don't do a lot of it, you feel quite overstimulated on the treadmill. The machine is loud, belt is moving very quickly. It feels like your margin for error is very small. One misstep, you're flying off the back, which we see in those videos. We know that it happens, but it doesn't happen as frequently. So we have to trust our feet, and it will make the experience so much better because once again, if we're relaxed, we are gonna mimic more of our outside running and it won't feel so different. So what I like to do is kind of just mentally copy and paste me running outside to planting myself on the treadmill. Nothing else has to change. Yes, if we're outside and you wanted to start running crazy, big wide steps or narrow steps or whatever, you wouldn't really have consequences for that because you stay on that same ground. If you're on the treadmill and you do that, yes, that belt is going to mess with you. But you know that your feet don't naturally want to do that. Our bodies know how to run. You have to remember that. That movement forward, it's in our human DNA. We've been doing it for thousands of years. We know how to run. So you have to trust that the treadmill is just there to enhance the experience and work around you, but you are planted and you're fine. What I've noticed in watching my athletes as we're doing the Zoom sessions, and then in myself too, if it's a different treadmill I've never been on, if I approach it with fear, I end up getting hurt. I get these little aches and pains or wear and tear that never needed to happen in the first place because I am so focused on placing my steps so that I don't fall or don't misstep, that I tend to have more weight in the toes, which leads to those shin splints if we're not dropping that heel, kissing the heel to the ground. Ankles aren't quite relaxed to help spread that impact across. Like I said, distributing that weight evenly in our step is really what gives us the most longevity in the running. So if I'm instead kind of slamming and placing, but I know where my feet are going, all that kind of frigid nature of it leads to small joints taking over, small areas doing more than they need to, and we can't use those bigger muscles that we feel more confident using on the outside. So just remember, fear kind of leads to painful treadmill running, less repeatable treadmill running, and if you really hate it, it might be something to consider. This might be what's going on here. Trust your feet. They know what to do. They naturally are going to fall into those hips. You can adjust the speed until you feel comfortable to push. Only do what you're comfortable doing, but you have more control than you think. Next thing I want to talk about is what a gift the treadmill is in the way of quality control. With the treadmill, we can make sure that every bit of our run workout is done really well, really strong. So not only can we set the speed up so that we have to maintain the same output and work around that speed setting, which is a really great way to again mimic on the outside, get really comfortable at what certain speeds feel like on the body, how that breathing and heart rate respond, and if things are not comfortable, we figure out how to make them comfortable. This brings me to kind of the last point again, which is this is a great place to look under the hood. I recommend setting your phone up landscape style. I love using a water bottle as a tripod, it's great. Set your phone up, get about 45 seconds or a minute from the side of footage, looking just at your feet. Then you can do a more zoomed out way where you look from the hips down as well. Do it from the front so you can see exactly how your feet are landing, any discrepancies between the two sides. And then what I like to do is slow that video footage down and really look what's going on. Do things look how I want them to look? If not, we can slow that treadmill down, get you thinking about it, and then once we've really nailed that form down, then we add that speed back. We talk about that on the outside all the time, but what a gift to have it all in one place and video recorded so that you can really understand how something feels and how it looks, and again, ways you can talk to yourself. As far as output and how hard something feels, we now have that control knowing how long we can last at certain speeds. So I set that speed up. Say I have a really specific goal for a race. Yes, there are differences between outside and treadmill, we know this, but in terms of just making progress, we know what speed we're trying to go for, figuring out a way, how do I breathe, how do I keep that heart rate controlled, and how do I land efficiently, again, to not make it so hard for me to make this time goal happen. All of that is really great to do on the treadmill, and I tell people this all the time, break things up as you need. I would rather have someone do 3 sections of a workout that all look awesome with breaks between than starting really strong and then just slogging away, getting through it without breaks, but at what cost? If it looks terrible the second half, but you technically didn't stop, was it really a gain in the first place? In the examples I gave of how I lay out a workout at the beginning of this video, I also want to mention we do a lot of stretches between sections. And just like I said, breaking up your workout to make sure each section looks really good, don't be afraid to stretch in between. Add in some more dynamic warm-up. You have, again, that space right there next to the treadmill or even on it. Hit a couple leg swings, do a couple squats to calf raise. Get your upper body nice and loose. Make sure that everything is really feeling good because you can, right? You don't have to pull off to the side of the road. You don't have to be embarrassed. No one's looking at you. Make sure that you're giving yourself the best opportunity to put the best foot forward, give your best output, right? We can run faster, we can run stronger with less residual effect. We don't need to be in pain after these things if we pay attention to those stretches. And I don't think there's anything wrong with taking a quick break to reset the body and again, obviously hydrate and all of that stuff, but there's no shame in that. Next, I want to talk to my trail runners, my ultra runners, those of you who love a hilly course or a technical course. How can you utilize the treadmill to be really strong on race day or just on any of your normal routes when you're back outside? Number one, I really do love the hiking on the treadmill. I feel like it's a really good way to get power in your hips. Put that thing on 8 or 10% incline, pick up your knees, hips forward, even get a little march arm going, and really focus on getting the heart rate elevated, but creating a consistent hiking step. This will make you much faster on your hikes in a race. Always say to you guys, if you do not practice hiking fast, you will not hike fast on race day. I learned that lesson the hard way. I can't tell you, I think most of my slow hill trail races came from the fact that I did not practice enough hiking. I did a lot of like mid-range hill running, but I didn't practice hiking fast. And I feel like the treadmill is a great place to just keep that pace up. Like I said, you set that setting and you don't touch it, and you figure out a way to keep it moving, really driving from the hips. Other thing you can do is mix that up with flat or 1%, nice easy jog, because we know that's going to be a lot of your race as well. So going from the hike to the jog, very similar to race, you can kind of keep going back and forth. I kind of call that the rolling hills workout. You can also go slower on higher incline if you're going to take it to a jog, and then speed it up as you bring the incline a little bit down. So you're getting sort of a rolling hill workout, and you're maintaining, again, breathing, heart rate, etc., also paying attention to form. So great place to just get time on feet done. We know that's the number one thing with training, time on feet. The final thing I want to talk about is how much bang for your buck you can get on the treadmill. If you have a short period of time for your workout, you can make a lot happen on the treadmill, be really sweaty, be sore, feel like you really worked out hard. Whereas if I'm outside, I always used to tell myself this, if I wanted to run for 2 hours and I only had 45 minutes, I would just tell myself, okay, you're gonna run those 45 minutes hard because you're running for way less time. So try to make up the difference. It is so easy to slip out of that, or just slow down, or kind of make excuses, or kind of sandwich the run with your warm up and cool down, right? When we're inside, we can really look at those settings, look at those numbers, and hold ourselves accountable. Be honest with ourselves. You set that thing at 6.0 speed, and then 7, and then 8, you need to repeat that, 6, 7, 8. And you give yourself breaks, like I said, 1 minute off, just catch that breath, but you can really push on every interval. Combined, you probably get a lot more done depending on the workout. Just some ideas for those interval workouts. I really love to include a little bit of strength work here. I think that makes your running feel tougher when you get back on the treadmill, which again gasses you, but it's a small period of time you're working for, and challenges you to still move well. So what I used to do a lot of, especially in college, I'd run hard for 90 seconds, maybe on the 1.0 incline, just keep it mostly flat, push myself 90 seconds, hop off, I'd hit 15 squats, maybe I'd hit 5 burpees, maybe I'd hold a 30-second plank, I get right back on, I run again, maybe I take a quick water break, whatever it is, you can mix this up, but you can throw some strength in there. I can get on and just do kind of nice medium effort for 3 minutes on the run. Get off, do 20 walking lunges. Maybe I go 1 squat hold for 30 seconds, get back on. Your legs are tired, you just did all that strength, you get back into the run. Yes, it's hard, but we push anyway, because we know this 30 minutes is just ticking down. We can get through anything for 30 minutes. I also really love, and I'm not gonna take credit for this, Brett's Bites on Instagram and TikTok. She came up with this workout. It's not revolutionary, but it is just a damn good workout. 5-minute run, 1-minute walk. 4-minute run, 1-minute walk, 3, etc., all the way through the 1-minute run, and you go through that twice. She likes to kind of get a little bit faster as the running time drops down, but you don't necessarily need to, especially if you're someone newer to running. This is a really beginner-friendly workout. Training yourself to just keep moving for those 5 minutes because you know you're shaving a minute off each time. So the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 workout, I'm gonna give her that credit. Otherwise, guys, just come up with some way to work hard, push, take a little walk or jog break, work hard, push, etc. Couple rounds of that, you're done. So that's why I love treadmills. Very surprisingly, this was not sponsored by any treadmill company. I just genuinely want you guys to see the benefits to them. If it's where you're stuck and you feel like it's kind of just this purgatory where you just have to slog along, just know you have a lot more options. There's a lot more nuance if you let there be. You can really pay attention to your running, so when you get back outside, you're gonna be really strong, really in tune, and really understanding of your breathing, your heart rate, how you move, why you are limited in your speed, or wherever else you feel held up in your running. I hope you guys loved this video. Let me know what else you want to see. Please subscribe, and I will see you next time. Bye.